January of 2021. I remember it like it was yesterday. So much was going on. The pandemic was in full swing, the Capitol building had just been attacked, and the thing that so many people had waited for had just arrived. I'm of course talking about the COVID-19 shots. Millions around the world breathed a sigh of relief. Some danced. Some were even crying tears of joy as they fought to be first in line. The demand was high everywhere as millions clamored to get their shot. But then a few months later, people started to take notice of something very interesting. The demand for the shots quickly decreased as millions were hesitant to get vaccinated. Many were hesitant because they wanted to take a wait-and-see approach. Obviously, this was a new type of technology, and people wanted to see if there were any long-term side effects that they should be concerned about. However, the prevailing thought was that we needed to reach herd immunity in order to stop the spread of COVID. Something needed to be done, and it needed to be done quickly. Something needed to be done to convince the hesitant, and so people began springing into action. Incentives were offered to people to get vaccinated. Lottery tickets, rifles, cash, pizza, hot dogs, fries, even marijuana. You heard that right. In the middle of a pandemic that saw 94% of the people who were dying of a respiratory disease that had health conditions like diabetes and heart disease. For some reason, people thought it was a good idea to offer junk food and marijuana as incentives. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But I digress. These incentives worked somewhat as people flocked to get these prizes. But then things took a turn. The rhetoric started changing. Whispers of not allowing people to take part in society started being suggested. News pundits suggesting that people not be allowed to go to the supermarket.
Don't get the vaccine, you can't go to the supermarket. Don't have the vaccine, you don't show it, can't go to the ball game. Don't have the vaccine, can't go to work.
Talk show hosts suggesting that the unvaccinated be left to die if they were in need.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
And newspaper reporters stating emphatically, let the unvaccinated die. Fear was performing its work and causing the love of many to wax cold. And sure enough, those sentiments began spreading throughout society as people were no longer allowed to enter certain establishments, and the signs quickly emerged as many people started adjusting to a new reality. No vax, no service. The pressure was continuing to grow, and it culminated in the call from the president for all businesses with more than 100 employees to require vaccination in order for people to keep their jobs. And sure enough, thousands of people started losing jobs left and right. People's ability to buy and sell was being threatened. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe that it happened so quickly. I couldn't believe that society could be so callous. But the thing that I couldn't believe the most was the sound I was hearing from so many of my fellow Adventists. And do you know what that sound was? It was this right here. That's right, crickets. How could this be possible, I remember thinking. How could so many see what was happening and not be stirred to speak up? Obviously, it wasn't everyone, and there were many that were speaking out about what they were seeing. But for the most part, the crickets could be heard everywhere, as the silence was deafening. It was all just so, well, unspectacular. If there is any group of people on the planet that should have been vocal about what was taking place, it was Seventh-day Adventists. Based on Revelation 13 and the details given to us in the Great Controversy, we know what's coming. We know there's going to be a crisis, followed by fear, followed by mandates, followed by the ability to buy and sell being stripped away, followed by a society that will even suggest that those who do not receive the mark of the beast are unworthy of life itself. Now, the COVID mandates were not the mark of the beast, but based on the DNA and the spirit of compulsion and indifference that was rampant in society, and dare I say rampant among our people, these two situations were more than distant cousins. I remember thinking to myself, I knew what was coming in the future, but I can see clearly now how it's going to happen. My household was not immune to these mandates. My wife had held a part-time position for 12 years, and in the fall of 2021, she received the same notice that so many others had received. Get the shot by December 31st, 2021, or be terminated. Where were the voices speaking out against this injustice? Why weren't more Adventists who understand that their ability to buy and sell will eventually be stripped away, be incensed at what was happening? Why weren't more people speaking up? like this nurse who got vaccinated, but still protested with her fellow nurses who were not comfortable taking this form of vaccination.
Nurse Sarah Castillo, however, does have the vaccine, but still believes her coworkers should be given a choice.
I am vaccinated. That was my personal choice. But I choose to stand with my coworkers who have decided not to. They've done their research. Their belief is that they should not be getting this vaccine. My job is to stand with them, just like I would stand for any patient who refused treatment.
Why weren't more of our people doing that? And I don't mean going out on the picket lines. I'm simply talking about speaking up in our sphere of influence, however large or small it may be. But this woman exemplified the ability to make a personal decision for herself and yet understand that the mandates were unjust and was compelled to speak up about it. Why couldn't we? Now, I love my church, and I certainly appreciate that they were at least willing to provide resources to assist people in writing letters. But was that going to be it? Couldn't we as an organization provide a statement about liberty and speak against taking away people's livelihoods? It was just all so unspectacular. This was our opportunity as a people who understand the character of God, and that He never, and I mean never, works through coercion. This was our opportunity to reveal that part of His character. Think about the story of the brazen serpent. All the people had to do was look and live, 100% efficacious, no side effects, and God never mandated it. This was our opportunity as a people that claimed to be serious about liberty of conscience to speak up. And instead, as I already said, the silence was deafening. Perhaps it was social pressure. Perhaps it was fear of being mislabeled. Perhaps some felt as though thousands losing their livelihoods was a small price to pay for what they believed would stop the spread. And I'll let you decide if it stopped the spread. I don't know what it was, but I do know that much like the relatively quiet response to COVID regarding the health message, this was another missed opportunity to let our light shine as it relates to liberty. Well, like many other Adventists and non-Adventists, we submitted our request, and my wife's religious exemption was denied. And at the end of December 2021, she lost her job. Here's the thing that we as a people need to understand. Liberty of conscience is not just about protecting the right to keep the Sabbath. It's so much more than that. Liberty is deeply, and I mean deeply, ingrained in the three angels' messages. And I want to invite you to look at our two-part series that we presented during the peak of these mandates entitled Liberty and the Three Angels' Messages to understand why it's so important. I believe that this was a missed opportunity to show how serious we are as a church to speak up for liberty of conscience, even when it doesn't relate to us and our Sabbath keeping. I believe that if we are not more respectfully and humbly vocal during these pivotal moments in history, people will begin to view us as liberty of conscience narcissists, only concerned about the issues of liberty that impact us directly. Since 2021, there has been a correction of some of the wrongs that have taken place, as all around the country, restitution is being made to those who lost their jobs. People are being rehired. Back pay is being given to make right an egregious moment of coercion in this nation's history. This was not the first time an issue of liberty has presented itself, and it will not be the last. In The Great Controversy, page 589, it states the following about pandemics and natural disasters. It says, in accidents and calamities by sea and by land, in great conflagrations, in fierce tornadoes and terrific hailstorms, in tempests, floods, cyclones, tidal waves, and earthquakes, in every place and in 1,000 forms, Satan is exercising his power. He imparts to the air a deadly taint, and thousands perish by the pestilence. These visitations are to become more and more frequent and disastrous. People will be dying from natural disasters, and they will be dying from pestilences that we know to be pandemics, and a solution will be provided in an attempt to save lives. On page 590 it says, and then the great deceiver will persuade men that those who serve God are causing these evils. It will be declared that men are offending God by the violation of the Sunday Sabbath, that this sin has brought calamities which will not cease until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced. That's right. Stop the natural disasters. Stop the spread of the pestilence or the pandemic. Save lives. Except this time, there will be a different solution that violates men's consciences. And that solution will be Sunday rest. And if you don't think that's something that can happen, then just take a look for yourself.
We're facing a long and tough battle against the virus. We'll need to keep our spirits up and to keep our forces. That's why we're announcing today that businesses will now be closed on Sundays.
In Christ's Sermon on the Mount, he emphatically stated, "With what measure ye mete, it will be measured to you." If we as a people continue to mete out indifference when people are losing their livelihoods and having their ability to buy and sell stripped away, can we really expect mercy when Revelation 13 is fulfilled, when the ability of Sabbath keepers to buy and sell will be limited? I believe that before it's all said and done, we will indeed have more opportunities to speak up when it comes to the issue of liberty of conscience. My sincere prayer is that we will all learn from this moment and strive to be better when the next crisis comes. In addition to loving our neighbor, we also need to reveal that the principle of liberty is part of the three angels' message as it relates to the glory and character of God. And I believe we will reveal his character to the world by working to bring relief and healing to those that are sick, and by also sharing the principles of liberty in a world that is getting increasingly comfortable with coercion. When this moment comes, I sincerely believe that we will step up, and I also believe that it will be spectacular. God bless.